I can answer right now. Just let me know.
Yeah. Okay. So if it's an educational hub, it's a culture club in my community. Can I apply for this? Can I apply like on the behalf of this culture club for more support, which is mainly on education?
It definitely sounds like the theme is on point, and it definitely sounds like it's aligned with the mission. So definitely consider sending in your application.
Okay. Thank you. That's it. Shukran.
And all right. Yalla. What do you guys think?
Okay, and I'll just save it. So from this community, Alan, I'm already registered my my account on the link that you already sent us previously on our email. So
okay. That's great.
Yeah, so from this link you can stay in touch with the other participants who already registered, Yana.
Exactly. It's a place where you can introduce yourself, you can connect with each other, you have your own user account. It's a great way to stay in touch. So if you guys are interested in potentially communicating with each other, collaborating, the open house is public, and then when we move into the accelerator and the sprint, there will be some private rooms for the program. So this is where you'll be put into the network of the people that are a part of the sprint and a part of the accelerator. But the open house is definitely public for now. You can even share this link with others. Like, I went to this really cool workshop. We really encourage you guys to share these links. So these links are all public. Even the only time you need to register is if you need to comment or if you'd like to comment. And then when we move into the sprint, we'll be putting it into this private community page.
Usually, which where are you? Where are the head offices in Lebanon and buried? Where are you guys located?
We are where you
right
need
here,
us.
Peter. We are everywhere.
Everywhere. Oh, hello, David.
Yes. Hi, Peter.
I'm not at Antwerp today.
No. Okay. Me either. That's yellow. We can meet up there again soon, or somewhere.
Yeah,
We're working to connect with teams all around the country and then beyond.
Yeah.
And so we want our headquarters to be primarily online so that we can be everywhere.
Yeah.
Although we are also in discussions, especially around this theme of education, about some exciting possible activities with Lebanese University School of Education, the Faculty of Pedagogy, and some others, and trying to engage programs, research centers, and educational programs around the theme of teaching and cultivating education more broadly. But even with that, we're trying to see how we can do it in a more broad, inclusive way. Now, because of changes as well of the academic schedule, a bunch of those folks are missing the webinars this week, but hopefully we'll catch them with some exciting stuff in the next couple of weeks. But they have their final exams now, this week and next week.
Yeah, are you doing like a physical meeting or just only online?
We're open to it. We are doing some physical sessions with Lebanese University, and then we're in discussions with some others, so we're open to it. But we love the idea of doing stuff online so we can engage people wherever they are in different parts of the country. And Abid is joining from London. Atish might also be joining from London as well. Nice. Yeah, how we can just kind of connect all over. Not sure if this is Mike Clark or which Mike this is, but I think Mike is doing some awesome if it's Mike Clark. Are you Mike Clark? Who are you? They're awesome people doing great, education initiatives all around the country, and then sometimes even from abroad, working with people all around Lebanon. So yeah, we're exploring.
Hey Munir, what's up, bro? Sorry,
that does sound like Mike Clark.
Yeah, there's a lot of noise, so I just stepped outside. It's good to hear from you guys, man. I really hope you guys are doing well. Bilal, we met a while back at my house with Islam.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. So
that's amazing.
And where are you joining us from, Mike? Where are you calling from?
I'm in New York at the moment, but my team is still in Lebanon, and I'm going back and forth and all that fun stuff. So, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Mike's working on a great educational project related to childhood literacy and sort of building online and offline supports and communities to support childhood literacy. Well, I mean, sorry, I should have let you introduce your project. Mike, what are you doing these days?
So basically, the whole premise of this app we're working on, Kindi, is that every child, regardless of location, should always have someone to share a story with. And whether it's in Lebanon and Syrian students who need to learn English or French for their local new school systems, but don't have anyone to practice with at home, or kids here in America who come from Latin American countries and have the same exact problem, we basically match them with a network of reading volunteers, like on demand, that they can read stories with. So that's kind of what we're working on at the moment. But we have some other stuff in the works that might be kind of well suited to this program. So that's why I wanted to tune in and see what's going on.
All right, guys. So
cool.
I think with that, thank you so much for sharing, Mike. Let's get started with the presentation that we have for today. I'm going to start sharing my screen, and we're going to start off with a very quick introduction to the day and the agenda. So if you're watching this later online, welcome to our second webinar with Atish. Just to let everyone on the call know, we're going to be sharing this recording because we want to make sure that for all the people that weren't able to make it due to scheduling conflicts, that they can still benefit from the content that we're sharing today. We're going to go over a quick overview of what the ACSI Challenge for Social Innovation is. We're going to be breaking out into breakout sessions to make sure that people from wherever you guys are in the world are able to connect with each other. It's one of our favorite things to do, is to help break the barriers of geography. We're going to go over a quick introduction for Atish, and he has an amazing presentation today about learning innovations for the humanitarian sector. After that, we're going to do a hard stop at 8 o'clock Beirut time, and then we're going to take selfies and share a feedback form. And we're not going to forget, because we always love seeing people's beautiful faces on these calls. So that's our schedule for the day. And remember, at the end, you're going to get a feedback form. Every time we do this, we want to be better than the last time. It's very important. It really means a lot to us, and it can be completely anonymous. You can tell us anything you want without us connecting it to you. So feel free to share content. We've added this agenda, for instance, due to feedback from previous sessions. Okay, so welcome to the ACSI Challenge for Social Innovation. It's run by Pitchworthy. And like we mentioned, we're going to go over the ACSI Challenge more at the end, because we have a hard stop with Atish in about 50 minutes. So keep your questions about the program, about the accelerator, about the sprint for the end. We're going to go over it very briefly right now. We're gonna get back to this at the end. So don't worry about that. This is the team. My name is Bilal. Lara should be joining us tonight. I think Dara's on the call. Munir, you've already seen. And we are running a program to break the barriers of geography and run high quality online entrepreneurship programs through our project called Pitchworthy. And so how to have an awesome call. If someone from the team could paste the call tips, you should have received an email about an hour or two ago with call tips. And it's just really important for us to learn the etiquette of how to have an amazing Zoom call. And one of those tips is basically keep your microphone on mute until you're ready to speak. And but beyond that, I think it's really important to think about who we want to be when we show up in a room. For instance, before you go to have a meeting, think about how do you want to show up in this call. For me, I like to show up as open-minded, energetic, enthusiastic, welcoming. Does anybody have any ways that they'd like to show up in this call? Feel free. You can really just type it into the chat box. Where's the chat box? Here we go. And that's another one of those techniques that we're going to use so that we don't take so much time turning on and off microphones. I might ask a question and we can all just type it up in the chat box. So for me, it's open, welcoming, and a good listener. That's how I would like to show up. And did we post the call tips? Munir, if you could post the call tips,
yes.
That would be excellent.
I posted them in the chat.
Yes. Okay. And some of those call tips I've pulled out for us over here is like, please use headphones. I don't know if you can hear. Hopefully, the headphones with the microphone closer to your mouth makes it easier to hear. Be aware of the background noise. And most importantly, we're going to be having fun today. Okay. So our very first breakout is going to be a way of introducing yourself to everyone. So Munir, if you could zip us off. Thank you, Abid. If you could zip us off into our breakout rooms. And the question that I'd like us to bring is, we're going to do another gratitude check-in. It's one of my favorite ways of kind of breaking the ice and connecting with each other is to try to create space to share something that you're grateful for today. So Munir, are we ready with the breakout rooms?
We are. How much time do we want to give people for this? Just to remind everyone.
I think what would be good. Are we doing 2 and 3 in a room?
2 to 3 is good. It's
Okay.
Right now it's split as 3 people.
That's perfect. So I think we need about 3 minutes, and we'll be giving you prompts in each minute to remember to take turns. And as a reminder, go alphabetically so that there's no confusion about who should start. And so alphabetically, starting with the earliest letter in the alphabet first, you're going to have 1 minute to share what you're grateful for. And then Munir is going to let you know when the second minute starts so that the second person can share. And then we'll all join here in the Zoom room and we'll get on with Atish's presentation. And I'll switch the sharing so you can take it over from here, Atish. All right, are we good to go, Munir?
Good to go. Bye, everyone.
Soji.
Oops. Hi, Riwa. Hi, Mariam.
Yeah, my room was very silent, so I thought it's more useful to come back.
Oh, Riwa, you didn't get in a room, huh? Okay, let me add you to another room then.
Fine.
Yes?
Doesn't matter.
But it shows, okay, let's see here. Riwa, Let's add you for room for growth. And Miriam, Donna, what up? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yes, I'm good. You want me to, we're just having, oh, shoot. Wait, 1 second.
Just 1 second.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm in the middle of we're facilitating a session now.
So
well, you're on the call.
I should probably leave because I got a message from
Stay,
Bilal
why?
saying there's humanitarian learning innovation.
Of course, stay.
Oh, okay. Well, I have a few minutes, so I'm gonna stay up with you guys, see how it's going. But if you're having a team meeting.
No, it's not a team meeting. This is they're just all the people are in the breakout rooms for another 1 minute. That's all. And I lost track of time for a moment. That's all. Miriam, Jirji, how you folks doing?
Welcome.
Some rooms are more active with folks than others. Let's see. Ricardo Ruiz, are you here? I'm just checking in on another room here as well. Jirji. Some folks are in a room, some folks are not.
Hi.
Hi, Jirji.
Hi.
How are you?
Fine, and you?
Yes. Are you having trouble connecting? Are you were able to talk in the other room?
Yes.
All right, all right. We're getting everyone back in their room in 30 seconds. And then we'll catch up again. Yes. All right. Hi, Abed. Welcome back.
Thank you, Munir.
How are you? How are you? Good? Good?
Interesting.
We have two Munirs.
All right. So, Atish, would you like to take it away? I think we can skip to the slide with your introduction, and we'll get back to the Asfari challenge at the end of the webinar.
Sounds good. So let me know.
First, actually.
Sure, and I have a slide. I use a Venn diagram to introduce myself. So just let me know if you see my screen load up. All good? Great. So no, first thing, thanks to the Pitchworthy team for having me over. I've been really having fun working with Bilal, Munir, and team, and also with the Asfari team as well. So I'm a very strange person. I use a Venn diagram to explain myself, but my experience and where I'm passionate about is at this intersection of where technology, learning, and social impact come together. So in the social impact piece, I've primarily been in the humanitarian space, but a little bit also in the development area. I'm the innovation director of the Humanitarian Leadership Academy, which I'll talk a little bit about. I'm also the founder of an edtech startup called Gamoteca. You've got my Twitter and email address there. I'm happy to post on my LinkedIn thing, so happy to be contacted after and continue the conversation beyond all of this. I'm not going to do a pop quiz on the maps at the bottom of the screen, but those are all the countries that I've lived in for longer than 2 years. So that's India, Australia, Switzerland, Hungary. I've got a separate map there for the UN because I ended up moving around quite a lot of the UN, including time in Lebanon as well. And then I was in the US, and now I am in London. So that's currently my stop. So I'll jump right in. So I'll talk a little bit about where I see some broader educational technology trends. My work has been primarily in the adult learning space, so working with aid workers, volunteers, etc. But a lot of what I share can be extrapolated also for primary, tertiary, secondary education. I'm hoping that the presentation that I share is also very practical, that there are some toolkits and platforms and courses, etc. I'll share. All of those will be accessible, and if they're either in the presentation, I'll make sure that Bilal has access to them so you can post them in the forum as well. So you feel that you've got some sort of practical things that you can take away from this. And I'll try to go through this fairly quickly so we also have enough time for questions at the end. So I'll start also beyond my introduction with a quick introduction also on my work with the Academy, which has been focusing a lot on disaster preparedness and focusing on getting aid workers, volunteers, etc., better prepared for disasters, whether they're natural or man-made. And we do this primarily through learning. And one of the things when I talk about learning is that learning is something that shouldn't be disseminated and consumed only, but it should be co-created. So how do we not just disseminate knowledge and learning, but how do we co-create and share learning that is engaging, scalable, and impactful? So that's sort of one of the key challenges that we look at. Here are the first key sort of interesting takeaway. So we do this through a platform called Kayak Connect, which I would call it sort of a Coursera, if you're aware of it, or edX of the humanitarian space. So there's about 400 courses, there's MOOCs, there's toolkits, etc., available on this platform. It's fully open and freely sort of you can accessible. So please do go on and register. We have over 150,000 learners there. And we work through both the digital platform and through a network of partners, primarily in Kenya, the Philippines, Bangladesh, and a few partners also in Jordan and in Lebanon and India as well. So yeah, so the first key takeaway is make sure to go on to Kaya and have a look at some of the courses, and if you like them, do register. And here are some sort of key stats that in terms of as we think about learning platforms and the challenges that people have accessing them, and I agree with a lot of the challenges that we have on digital learning at scale. We've still seen incredible uptake in places like Syria, in Yemen, Iraq, Bangladesh, where there are obvious sort of challenges of bandwidth and digital access, but we've still seen quite a high uptake. So these are the top 10 countries in order of those 150,000 learners. And we also sort of have individual learners like yourselves who can sign up, but we also have organizations, humanitarian organizations who sign up as well. So that's my introduction with my Academy hat. I'll do a little bit of a Gamoteca introduction a bit later. But in terms of my work on innovative learning and the future of learning, there's 3 areas that I'll talk about. The first is around skills, innovation skills. The second is around innovation technologies in education and learning. And the third is around how do we make sure we combine 1 and 2, but ensuring that we are doing it with our users, with people who know the area, who know the learning best. So how do we combine design thinking and these technologies to make sure we are creating relevant, meaningful learning? So the first area around learning about innovation or innovation skills, We've been working quite a lot on what is innovation, what are some of the jargon that gets used around it, but also interesting methodologies like futures and foresights, which is an interesting tool, not for predicting the future, but for looking at current signals and trends that are happening in the world today and how we can extrapolate from those and see if this is what is today happening in education, for example, or this is what is happening in the aid sector. We're seeing some of these signals. What kind of future can we imagine 5 to 10 years from now? And also looking at some of the big disruptions, for example, and using this as a way to inform how the kinds of decisions we want to make for our own, for ourselves, for our organizations. So it's quite an interesting methodology. Many organizations look at slightly different methods, but we've worked with the IFTF, the Institute for Futures. It's an interesting course that's available on Kaya. We've got some interesting courses on gamification and combining design thinking and game-based learning. This we've done with the UN agency called the International Training Center for the ILO. And I would say the most tangible of all of these is the toolkits. So we've got design thinking toolkits, which are targeting learning outcomes. So you may have seen, for example, toolkits focusing on creating products and services, but we've tried to gear concept building and design thinking, going through the same sort of empathy, problem definition, etc., that you do for designing a new product, but gearing that to designing chatbots, 360 films, game-based learning, and other types of innovative learning formats. All of these toolkits, again, are available on our website. I'm just going to very quickly see if I can skip out of this. So I'm just going to share this. So this is on, if you go to the Academy website, all of these links are accessible under the toolkits, and some of the other stuff I'm going to talk about are also available here. And I mentioned Kaya, so you can again search to Kaya. So I just wanted to share a couple of these very practical resources that you can access after. If for whatever reason you do lose it still, I'll make sure that the Pitchworthy team has access to these. So that's very briefly on sort of some of the tools and skills. There's also a really interesting piece of research that we published on what are sort of the future skills that the aid sector or the broader social impact space should be looking at in terms of learning, particularly for adult learners, things like data ethics, things like emotional intelligence over virtual media. So, for example, I see that like the Pitchworthy team do an amazing job in trying to build meaningful relationships and engagement over Zoom. So this is not a natural skill set that everyone has, and how do you build these types of skills within sort of more traditional trainers and facilitators. So that's the first area. The second area around the interesting technologies and methodologies. And here what we've been doing, and I'm sure some of these you've seen, but we've looked at EdTech or educational technologies which have proven effectiveness. So they've worked in other sectors as well. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit of background noise here. I would appreciate it if you don't mind, if you're on to hit mute. So we've looked at everything from chatbots to game-based learning to VR or immersive learning, and we are looking at the future even to things like predictive learning and the use of artificial intelligence. And we looked at doing it with low-cost, low-tech solutions. So I'll give you a few examples. So I'll start with chatbots. So whether we like it or not, a lot of our learners are on social media. And the Academy, for example, had quite a big Facebook following. There are over 600,000 followers. And so our challenge was, how do we get the learning journey started where the learners are on Facebook? So we started using a tool called ChatFuel. And more recently, we've been experimenting with Google's Dialogflow chatbot engine. Both are openly accessible tools. I think they have, let's say, higher paid plans as well, but you can use them for free. And what we started to create was little micro learning journeys on the chatbots that were accessible via Facebook, that people could start to ask questions like, what courses are available? And if there's a coaching mentoring course, it'll actually guide you to a little, like a little game on coaching and mentoring, and you can get a little video introduction. And then if people want to learn more, then it takes them into the longer course. But you can create quite sort of interesting little micro learning journeys on the chatbot itself, and these tools are quite simple to use. What is really interesting is the data that they create and that you can analyze in terms of where learners engage and where the users engage and where they drop off. And more interestingly, is very powerful. So it gives you some really interesting insights in terms of how people are engaging with these chatbots. The dialogue flow engine is interesting for us because it's also got what you call NLP, or natural language processing. So you can also write in natural language, so people can just type in words and it'll guess things. Yes, Bilal.
Atish, just an inline question. Some people don't know what a chatbot is, so if you'd like to just explain a little bit about that, that might be helpful for.
Sure. So a chatbot is essentially, if you've gone to a website and you've clicked a little button, you will sometimes see a, actually I can bring up what a chatbot looks like. It's simulating that there's someone on the other side, but it's actually driven by artificial intelligence, but you're not really, it's not really another person at the other end. So chatbot, so this is Facebook. So now you can see I'm chatting here with Bilal and my sister, who I just happened to find out yesterday also know each other, which is really bizarre. But this chatbot that I'm engaging here is not a real person, but it looks like I'm chatting with a person. So you can create a chatbot here, as I said, to show some courses. So I'm doing this through buttons, as I said, and it can help me find some courses on Kaya, and it can help me choose courses. But you can also use something called, we are currently building out with Dialogflow. So this is a different kind of chatbot. I can also show me, so you can actually write stuff in as well. So this is what a chatbot is. Does that help? Cool. Yeah, please do. Sorry, I'm not keeping an eye on the chat on the chat box. So Bilal, please do flag any questions. So the second area of yeah.
It is on Facebook, right?
Sorry.
On the Facebook page?
Yes. That's on
the chatbot.
Yes, that's on. Exactly, it's on Facebook. But as I said, the engines to create chatbots, so Google Dialogflow, you can create it, but you can deploy to Facebook, you can deploy to WhatsApp, you can deploy to Telegram, to other engines as well. But for two different platforms. But for every platform you created, you will have to sort of create responses as well for the different platforms, but it can work across different platforms. Chatbot is also a very interesting tool for you as a startup as you think about how you reach out to users and how you have people asking questions, for example, about your startup. A lot of websites will have a default chatbot that you can ask it questions and it can reach out to you as well. Yeah. Cool. I'll move on to the second area of technology, which is game-based learning. This is the piece that I'm very excited, and this is also where my entrepreneurial hat on Gamerteka comes in. So there's a lot of people talk about gamification quite wide, from sort of World of Warcraft to Fortnite. But the focus for us on game-based learning has been, how do you scale human engagement? A bit like what we're doing here is we are real people on the other side of Zoom, engaging with each other, sharing and learning together. But how do you create these kind of games which are digital, but where also real people are engaging and learning together? And an example I give of this is on coaching and mentoring, where we have some really good courses, online courses on coaching and mentoring. But to learn to be a good coach, you need to actually coach someone. And so we've created a game where one person is a coach and one person a coachee, and they can be in completely different locations, and they go to this game of coaching each other, and you get points, and you can have like a competition, etc. as well. And we've created similar games on challenging gender bias, on design thinking, on onboarding. So the second takeaway from today is, so this is the startup which I've built out, and I'll just skip forward, is do go to the Gamerteca platform. And again, you can sign up here to play games. You can download the app on your phone. You can play some games. But more interestingly, you can also go and create your own games. And there are some templates on the ones I was mentioning that you can use. And you can create a really interesting multi-player games, have people share with each other. You can have people upload videos and photos. You can create, I'm really curious to see what kind of games you create, but you can create single and multiplayer versions of the games. And then when you push it, then your players can play it on their phone or they can play it on their computer. They get real-time notifications and can share with each other and play in teams and have like compete and get points, etc. as well. So we've been running this for about a year now, the startup, and we've been creating some really nice games that you can start to play. But I'd really like to see you also use the platform to create your own games as well. So we've been using this in the humanitarian context to create games to achieve more human engagement at scale. And the third and last area I would like to talk about is virtual reality and or what I'd call immersive learning, where we've been starting with very sort of simple 360 of films. So I don't know if you've gone to YouTube, and you can search and you find 360 videos, and you can actually, if you have a YouTube app on your phone, you can sort of swivel around and look and see the 360 videos. But we've been using these to build empathy for putting people in really sort of scenarios. So for example, we created a film on gender perspectives on the Syrian crisis for Syrian refugees that come to Lebanon, and is looking at the different perspectives for men and women. We've created something in the Philippines, working with a partner there. So these are very simple things that you can create with a 360 camera. But we've also been working on more interactive VR, where when you put on a VR headset, you can also interact and you can do things. So we've been creating things on making decisions where you are confronted with a certain scenario. And one of those has been safeguarding, which is about the difficult topic of sexual exploitation and abuse. And someone has come to you and said, this has happened to me. How do you respond to that person in an empathetic way? In a way that doesn't make them feel comfortable, but it is not making the scenario even worse. And we created this app, and you can download this again also on the App Store, Safeguarding VR, either on Android or on the iPhone, and you can try it out. But it puts you in the scenario, and you have to then, in your own voice, respond to the person who's gone through this very difficult scenario. And then you body swap into their shoes, and you observe how you are responding to this situation. So these are just 3 examples of, as we talk about the future of learning, I wanted to share with you that these are 3 things that we've done from a much simpler chatbot to game-based learning to VR. So getting a little bit more complicated. But these are things that we've already done. And I said, I'm doing this, I'm speaking very, very quickly now, but if any of those things interest you, I'm more than happy to answer questions or follow up further with you beyond the webinar as well. The last piece, and then I'll stop talking so that we leave enough time for questions as well, is around creating spaces. So I'm very passionate that any technology that you end up creating, make sure you involve your users to do this. And we've got quite a nice methodology here we've been working on over the last few years, is where you bring together the subject matter experts. So in the breakout room, I was with Maya, I think, who was working for Mercy Corps. So if you're working with humanitarians from Mercy Corps or with other organizations, have the people from Mercy Corps, but also have some local entrepreneurs, have some people from academia, some actual users as ideally of this eventual technology you're building, go through sort of a design process of what that is on paper, and then experiment with very simple prototypes. And that's what we've done, is build very simple low-tech prototypes of the chatbots, the games, whatever else you end up building, but make sure constantly test and go back to the user. So that's been one of the key lessons for us, is make sure, start small, test with the users, go back, And then the successful ones you can scale. So we've been some of the really inspiring innovations which have come through some of these workshops, we've then scaled through Kaya. But some of them don't need to be scaled, are very applicable only in a certain context. But we've built out this nice methodology where you combine the design thinking together with using simple technologies, introduce them to people who are not very techy themselves, and then scale from there. And this is one of the workshops that we ran in Jordan last year with youth engagement with the SDGs, and there were some really inspiring games which came out of this on gender bias, on improving educational outcomes, on engaging with climate change, and these are all games that were created by the youth participants. So I think I've covered this. So my final takeaways, and then we can go to questions, is do sign up on Kaya and Gamerteca. There are resources that are freely accessible for you. I'd also add all of the other toolkits and the materials that I also shared on our website. Combine technology always with your users' needs and goals, and validate that at every step of the process. Make sure you're going back and ideally have them as part of the design process. And if any of the stuff which I talked about very quickly in 20 minutes sounds even remotely exciting or interesting to you, reach out to me and I would love to hear from you and work with you. And I'll stop with that final quote that's saying a lot of the school future stuff, it's already here. It's just not evenly distributed. And your role as you're thinking about your interesting concepts and solutions, keep that in mind that a lot of the technology is here. It's just not accessible to enough people. And that's what we've been trying to do the last few years. But I would encourage you to inspire and make this technology and these sorts of educational tools available to other people. Back to you, Bilal.
Wow, that was quite a tour. And we have so much amazing content, and I feel like we could spend a whole webinar diving into each one of these different fields, from VR, from gamification. But I wanted to ask if, first of all, I want to make sure everyone understood all of the concepts, and if anybody has any like clarifying questions or any questions about the presentation at all.
Anna, I'm going to ask Atish. The slide, if you can share the Google slide that you showed us, it's already shared on the website, or you can send it to us.
We've already shared the slides with you guys. It's on the community page, and we'll be posting. I'll give you the link in a second.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Humanitarian.
Yes. Webinar 2. If you go and click into Webinar 2, you can see we'll put up the slide, and we'll also put up the video later if you'd like to watch it again.
Plus all the links and everything from here will get shared there. So don't worry about catching them in the chat here. Other questions? I know we have limited time with Atish, who has about 14 minutes before he's going to leave us. And I'm sure we could have hours of questions about all these different topics. So specific questions that were about your projects, activities, maybe some things that could be relevant to what you're working on.
Can you talk more about the safeguarding app? I'm interested to know what are the use cases.
Yeah, no, and I'll share a really good video which explains safeguarding a bit more. But what I found when we built out the Safeguarding VR app was that there wasn't enough opportunities to test soft skills. So what we've essentially built through Safeguarding VR is a flight simulator for soft skills. So you're putting people in really, here in this case, in a difficult scenario, someone who is reporting something quite traumatic that's happened to them, and you are responding in your own words, after which you are swapping with the person you've just spoken to and seeing it from their perspective and hearing your own voice back. I'm just trying to bring up a quick slide that can sort of give you a bit of an overview of the different elements in it. But the same concept can be applied to other types of topics like difficult conversations, negotiation, etc. So a lot of the applications of VR have been, virtual reality have been around motor skills. So how do you lift this kind of box, or how do you fly the plane or perform the surgery? But there's not been enough around soft skills, the kind of really important behaviors. So what we've done with this, and as I said, it's available on, we've got it on Oculus, but not everyone, I understand, has an Oculus. But you get briefed on, you first observe a conversation, you do a bit of an assessment. Then you are in a first person where you are now embodied. It's called virtual embodiment, where you are sitting across Susan and she's talking to you. You first respond by clicking different buttons. After that, you use your own voice. You body swap with her, and then you hear your response. And then you get a basic analysis of the kind of words you use. For example, did you use Susan's name a few times? Did you, your eye contact, was that there? So yeah, so I think that the application for safeguarding has been in this prevention of sexual exploitation, a safeguarding topic, but it can be also applied for other fields as well. And one of the challenges we had with safeguarding was, how do you make VR accessible to a lot of people? Not everyone has VR headsets these days. So we built it originally for something called Oculus, but now we've actually got it on a version on the phone, which you can do either with something called Google Cardboard. So you can strap on like a headset onto your phone, or you can just access it with your phone and just like still have kind of a VR experience, but without a cardboard. So we've created a high-end VR experience, which is very immersive, but you can also roll it out at scale through just smartphones as well. Is that helpful, Dara?
Yes, very much. Thank you.
So we have a question from Robert. Robert, if you would like, you can feel free to share with your voice.
Yep, I got the question. Let's go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I got the question. So it's about the experience in facilitating co-creating spaces. A bit more on that. So on co-creating spaces, what we've done over the last, say, 3 years is we've been working with the International Training Center of the ILO. They had an interesting methodology. We've sort of combined design thinking together with co-creation on low-tech tools. So imagine a 3-day format where the first day you introduce people to the basic concepts of innovation and design thinking. So what is an empathy map? How do you understand your user? How do you define a problem? How do you rapidly prototype on paper? We also inspire people by some of the tools I just showed you. We get people to actually play with them and use them, so people also get excited about some of these chatbots and games in VR. The second day, people actually start to use to create their own. We put people, let's say there's 30 people, we put them into 5 teams. They start to create in teams their own low-tech solutions from the paper into something like Gamoteca or into a chatbot. And on the third day, they then evaluate and test each other's products. So through this design process, they don't end up just with paper outputs. They actually end up with lo-fi tech outputs, which they can then evaluate and give each other feedback on. So this is a very sort of simple, I'd say, process at this stage. But we've taken them a bit longer sometimes, where we reiterate, where once they get feedback, they go back and do one more round of improvements, and again go back. So, but I would say minimum 2 days and ideally 3 days, but you can do something like this for up to 5 days as well. But Robert, I'm happy to also share what an agenda and what kind of materials would look like for this. We've also got a course on Kaya called the gamification course, which has a lot of these materials that you can use if you're setting up a space like this. So you can also use all the templates as well there too.
Awesome. Thank you for the question, Robert, and thanks for the thorough answer, and thanks for being so generous with the materials. Does anybody have any questions? We have almost a little bit more than 5 minutes left.
Sorry, Bilal, if I may, I managed to find, sorry, if I very quickly may, I managed to find sort of that this is just for Robert's question. I found a a sample agenda, what that could look like. So yeah, we do like what is innovation, design thinking. This was focusing a bit on gamification, get people to play with some of the games, and then you go through the design process of creating different game elements, starting to build prototypes of this, and then testing and evaluating. So this is just, as I said, a very simple example of what one of these agendas of these workshops could look like.
All right, wonderful. So this is your opportunity, as long as we have Atish on the call. Does anybody have any other questions?
There was a question from Mike about WhatsApp and chatbots.
Yeah, Atish, thanks for your time, man. I had a quick question on, like, what is the flexibility of chatbots on WhatsApp? I know that was like a big thing in the works for a while. Like, is it as flexible as Messenger is, or is it like restricted to certain types of organizations? Just I'm curious to know where that's kind of at right now.
Sure. So there's a few different platforms. I think ChatFuel was I think their relationship has been quite close to Facebook. So I think the outputs from ChatFuel primarily tie into Facebook. But Dialogflow, which is coming from Google, is a bit more cross-platform. I need to check sort of what types of output platforms. I know it connects into Messenger, into Telegram, into a couple of others. So it's quite cross-platform. I think it ties into WhatsApp as well. So the only thing is, as you define your outputs for the discussions that you're having on, so this is the back end, for example, of Dialogflow. The responses then you would need to, let's say, show me some courses. So the response could be, there could be default response, there could be Google Assistant, Facebook, Telegram, and I think there are other types of ones you can see. You can have Skype and Viber. I need to check why I'm not seeing WhatsApp here, but I'm quite sure WhatsApp is also one of the ones that you can add. But just keep in mind that for each one of the different types of response platforms you create, then you need to have a strategy around the kind of content that you would want displayed, because Facebook Messenger, for example, is richer because it can include, let's say, more rich kind of cards. You can have more visual responses like this, whereas some of them are more text-based. But most of these most chatbot engines are being currently designed looking at sort of a customer support segment, sales, and we are looking at it from a learning use case, but I think there are a lot of them have come from the customer support and sales angle, and so they're looking at user engagement and how people can the sort of metrics you're seeing on how engaged, etc. they are, but yeah, I can definitely check what other tools there are. But I think Dialogflow is probably the simple one. You can go quite. I think with IBM Watson, you can build out quite a powerful chat engine. But I would say these ChatFuel and Dialogflow are the easier ones to work with if you're not very technical yourself.
All right. So
awesome. Thank you.
Riwa needs to leave. Thank you so much for the question. I feel like we have so much content, so much value. I really hope that the people that are watching this later can go to the community page, can see all of the links, can reach out. Atish, feel free to create a user account. We're going to be letting people chat and comment underneath your video. So we'll have all of that content kind of put in one place, and it could be a great place to continue the conversation. While we're all here, I know we have 4 minutes, and we love doing this. We're going to take a quick selfie. So people that would like to be a part of our group photo, please turn your cameras on. And we are going to take our goodbye, hello selfie to Atish, and saying goodbye to Riwa.
Mike, right. Miriam, Lara, if others want to. Yay. Emmanuel.
Bye. Thanks so much.
Robert.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
It's nice to see you, Georgie.
Bye.
Awesome.
Bye. We're going to stay on the call. So thank you for the selfie. We're going to send the feedback form for everyone. Oh, everyone's leaving. Okay, that's great. We're going to send the feedback form. Oh, hey, there you are. We're gonna send a feedback form. Like I mentioned, it's super important for us to get feedback on how we can do this better. And we're gonna answer all of your questions about what the Asbury program is. We're gonna go over the program, how it's run, what the sprint period is. If you have any questions about application criteria, the deadlines, we're here for that. Thank you, Atish. I know you had to leave, but that was an awesome webinar. I'm really glad to be able to have all of those resources in one place and a quick video to explain it all and a place to point people to. So if you guys would like, we have our document and where we have the content. And right now I'm gonna share my screen and we're gonna go over a bit of the ACSI phases. So
yeah, look, and just while Bilal is setting that up, I just wanted to throw in quickly, you know, one of the interesting things that I saw in Atish's presentation was really how easy it is to explore and experiment and test with these different tools. And so whether around education or even around other things, you know, impact issues, one, if, you know, we can stick around after Bilal goes through these topics and can think for whatever project you're working on, what might be possible just to experiment with. And then as well, or what you have experience experimenting with, these tools or others, but how can we really build this more into our projects, into our impact efforts, into our startups, this aspect of playing with some of these tools, with some of these technologies, seeing how it can impact our, you know, bottom line or impact efforts, etc., in a much, you know, more dynamic manner. Yeah.
All right. So we've gathered here today to discuss the ACSI, the Asbury Challenge, and Pitchworthy. I think, you know, you might have seen our webinar and you might have seen some of our content on Facebook. And I want to be kind of clear about the next stages for the Asbury Challenge. We're looking to wrap up this open house period where we're exposing people to ideas around education for the humanitarian sector, like we spoke about in this call, and to try to be able to share a lot of valuable content and to motivate people to apply by, I think we've decided March 8th because of the calendaring issues with the universities, just to make sure that people that are in their exam periods have some time to apply. And we're going to be beginning a sprint where if you've been thinking about starting an initiative, or if you really want to take some time to really put in some effort, a concentrated effort for a week, this is the time to do that. And we're going to be doing that in the second week of March. And from that process, from that engagement, we're going to see who's contributing online. How are people doing with their projects? Is their project related to education or lifelong learning or building community? And we're going to see who's making the most amount of progress and who would be the best capable at taking advantage of the mentorship that we're offering, of the virtual program, sort of like these Zoom calls that we're offering. And we're going to select people to get some funding and to enter into our accelerator that will extend from April until July. And then in July, we have our public demo day event, where we'll be inviting some of the investors that we know, some of the next stage opportunity potentials, like other accelerators or incubators from around the world, to come and be able to see your final presentation, the results of the concentrated period of effort that you just put into growing and developing your initiative. So that's the timeline that we have over here. And the process that we put into our program is very much oriented towards some of the stuff that Atish was talking about. We take an agile approach. We work with people. We don't have a standard curriculum that we force people through. It's dedicated to helping you develop your initiatives and finding you the resources and skills that you need. So we're going to be sharing resources with each other. We're going to be connecting you to mentors and experts. We're going to have people like Atish coming on throughout the program to share their experience and we're going to be your coaches all along the way. So checking in with you and making sure that we are kind of setting appropriate goals and tasks and monitoring your progress throughout the sprint and the accelerator. These are some of the eligibility criteria. So are there at least 2 people working on the project? We'd love to see people spending more time on this project. So it's 20 hours a week. Is it early stage? That's great. Is it already in a prototype stage? That's also great. We're focusing on Lebanon right now. We do have programs coming up that are available for people outside of Lebanon, in MENA and broadly. But right now, the project that we're doing is focused on Lebanon. We are looking for people that have already formed an organization. If you're having trouble with the legal issues, please reach out to us and we can discuss this. But we're really looking forward to supporting organizations that have the possibility for growth and addressing the social need that they're looking to address. And it could be any sort of incorporation, for-profit, nonprofit. And if you are, coming from a background that isn't normally seen in the entrepreneurship ecosystem, we definitely encourage all sorts of people to apply. So if these criteria fit you, or if you have questions about these criteria, just feel free to reach out to us, send in your applications, and we'll be reviewing them on a rolling basis. I know I said the application is due March 8th, but the sooner you get it into us, the sooner that we can connect with you and help you refine your application and make sure that you meet all the criteria and that you can rock it and get into the sprint period. And yeah, so that's it. I hope that was clear, and I hope you guys really enjoyed meeting Atish and meeting each other. Munir, any ideas about a last maybe breakout session or something that you'd like to do that's fun at the end, or we can just leave it open for questions right now, because we're all here, me, Munir, Abid, available for answering any questions about the Asfari Foundation, about Pitchworthy, about the program. This is a great time if you have any confusion.
Sure.
To get that cleared up.
Wanted to see if people have any questions about that, and we could put people in a breakout, or to hear about some of the ways that people have been experimenting with different innovations, running different experiments, what they've learned from them. Mike, we encourage groups that are registered. The main focus of the effort needs to be Lebanon, but we also know that Lebanon is a difficult place and sometimes it's not the optimal place to register at all sometimes, or depending on the project. So most important is the project should be focused on here, on Lebanon, and working on building capacity here. Other people who have either questions or want to hop into a room to have a quick chat with someone, or want to share a great innovation?
I have a question, because I've seen Hiba here for a while, and I've been so curious about you. I haven't heard from you much, and I was wondering if you'd be willing to share, why you joined the webinar, or what you found interesting, or if you have an initiative you're considering applying with. You don't have to answer, but I've been curious, so I'd love to hear from you if you're willing to share.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm firstly very grateful for David. I've known David for a few years now, and he's very much, hi David, he's very much supported our students at the university from all regions of Lebanon. We had the opportunity to work together in a sprint at the university, which was a great initiative, not only from an academic perspective, but also from a community perspective. And it really reached out to different people from different areas of Lebanon. David knows that we have a university that has almost 9 campuses. So you see different people with different views. And I think you all know Lebanon. Unfortunately, we don't have one view. We're all very unique. And within the region, we come from different cultures and different backgrounds. And this is the realism of our society. We have to be realistic. This initiative that most of you are taking into consideration is wonderful. And it's always very nice to look at a global perspective. But in the times that we are in at this point, we need to look locally first and nationally. I think we have a complexity in our nation, and many people say that we don't even have a nation if we were to define it scientifically. And we need to be able to see the realism once again and the idealism. And if we didn't all have some sort of idealism inbuilt in our human perspective, we wouldn't continue to grow. And this is really the reality.
I had a question, Hiba, and you come at this from an interesting angle. You teach at LIU, at one of the universities here. And actually, one of my questions for Atish was going to be around this aspect of from the aspect of experimentation to then having the opportunity to work inside of institutions. Is that an easy thing from your experience, whether at LIU or at other universities? Is it easy for people working on innovations around learning, around new teaching methods to connect into the
I think you know
institutions to teach?
I think you know us well enough, David, and you've had the opportunity to work with us. Firstly, I think it's obvious that it's an individual and group perspective, and we have to take into consideration the policies of the institution in which we're working in. And I think our institution has been very encouraging towards different types of entrepreneurial innovations within the curriculum in themselves. You'll see a lot of courses that have been developed. I think you know from our MIS course, we started off with the very traditional course of electronic business, which actually was the foundation for many other departments. And there are many courses today that, you know, look at entrepreneurship and innovative startup essentials. And they help students not only to look at the academic perspective, but to have people from industry who have great experience and to be able to make an alliance with them. And we need to be real in taking an account of each one of our roles. You know, academia doesn't take the role of industry, and industry can't be academic. We all have our different perspectives, but the nice thing about a community such as Pitchworthy or even Alt City at the time is that it's helping to integrate the different views and for each one of us to know our role and to give students and the wider community an opportunity to learn and to grow, not only locally, but nationally and internationally, because I think you've worked a lot with the people here in Lebanon from different areas of Lebanon, and we are a very diversified nation. There are a lot of people who have great initiatives, they have great perspectives, and really what they need, this new generation, is the chance to be seen. This is really the key. Yeah. Their ideas to be seen and not to be, you know, having this thought of being out of the box, but always feeling that they're confined to a box because of the environment that surrounds us.
Great. I mean, thanks so much, Hiba. These are really important ideas to keep into account. And as we try to think forward of how do we bring together these different roles, the private sector, the innovators, the nonprofits with the actual educational institutions. I'm wondering if any of the other folks, and especially folks who haven't spoken much, have a question or have a thought. Georgie or Miriam or Mike or Robert, how can we drive forward either your projects, have a question about what can be helpful for your projects, or ideas for improving this momentum towards transformation in education?
Thank you, Hiba. I know I put you on the spot, but it was really lovely to hear from you. And, you know, I guess it's one of those things that I do sometimes is I put people on the spot. And I was wondering if Georgie, I remember you were in our breakout session. We just began talking. If you're here, I'd love to learn a little bit more about you. Do you have an initiative that you're thinking about applying with, or what draws you to the webinars today? If you're not here, that's okay.
We were just chatting. He's here. If he's yes, welcome, Georgie.
Yes, but the connection of the internet is bad.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get your question.
My question is, do you have an initiative? Hiba was just talking about the idea that people need to be seen, and I'd love to see you and the project that you're working on.
Yes, of course, because I am an mechatronics engineer, and I work with the prosthetic limbs. That's I know what.
You work with what? Sorry, Georgie.
Prosthetics.
Prosthetics. Oh, very interesting.
With the brain wave and the muscle sensors.
You know, there's so many ways of finding how that connects to learning, because learning to reuse a limb, that's definitely a kind of learning. Teaching the skills of fitting. How do you see that your project fits in with the theme of learning, lifelong learning, and community innovation?
It connects with virtual realities, or to teaching other people with virtual VR, maybe.
Teaching people how to use their new limb?
Yes. And how someone, what can someone do if he has or she has 3 limbs or 4 limbs?
This sounds like really important work and very interesting work. I can't wait to see if you put together a short video presentation, maybe some slides for your application. I'm really excited to see what you're working on, Georgie. And it's these kinds of initiatives that we'd love to see more of, and people taking their studies. One of the things that I always thought is, like, there's so much amazing talent in the schools in Lebanon and Iraq, where my family is from, and all over the world, that in their final year projects they use to get jobs outside of the country, and they leave. And I always felt like there's a huge opportunity potentially for people that have done those initiatives and be like, wait a second, before you go and get a job, what if we try to find a way of taking this initiative and helping you turn it into something that you can implement? And so really love to learn more about your initiative.
Yeah.
Feel free to apply. I'm really interested in learning more.
Actually, and maybe there's some link, Georgie. One thing that I've been very curious about for our work, and then also for other education initiatives, whether like the project that Mike is working on with young people in literacy, or these efforts that Hiba is working on. But I've been very curious about the connection between neurology and entrepreneurship and social change. And if we really go down to the roots of it, our thoughts, our minds were a bunch of neurons, and then beyond that were a bunch of chemicals, and connected somehow to physics and in the cellular and the atomic structure. And actually, a big part of those elements connect to lifelong learning. And so if we can figure out how to more effectively understand our brains and how people learn, and what are the things that lead to engagement and passion, then maybe we can more effectively build these learning opportunities, these engaged learning programs. And so anyway, maybe there could be some cool link with the research and your knowledge, and bringing together some different areas of expertise on that stuff. Hey, B, I think we're just over time here, so we can, yeah, Robert's got to hop off, and I think it's time to wrap up.
Yeah,
but we're
just 2 minutes over, and yeah, thank you so much. This video is going up tonight, and if you appreciated the video and you appreciated the content, we have all sorts of things, goodies emojis in this webinar 2 docs to help you share. You can just cut, paste it, put it up on the internet, and as soon as we get the video up, we'll send you the link. If you found it valuable and you can think of anybody that would find it valuable to learn more about ACSI, about the accelerator that we're running, how to help people get access to resources to develop their projects, feel free to share it. Or if it's about accessing the learning content that Atish shared with us and all of the new innovations happening in education tech, feel free to share that as well. And it's been lovely to have everyone on this call. Keep your eyes on your spam box or your other inbox. We're having some issues with email. And you can teach Google to love us by letting Google know, by just taking that email and dragging it into your primary inbox. That way you and others will be able to see when we're sending you emails. It's really important for us to spread this message. Thank you, Mariam, for joining.
And adding
Thank you, Robert, for joining.
into your adding all of us into your contact list.
Yes, that would also teach Google. You know, we're talking about learning and education. It's not just humans that need to learn. Sometimes the machines need to be shown what good looks like. Okay, so thank you again, Hiba, Georgie, Mike, Mariam, Robert, Dara, Lara, Abed, Peter, everyone that came today. It was beautiful to have you. We'll see you on the community platform. Chat there, ask your questions there, because that's where we can actually develop and you know, gather knowledge rather than having it stream away in a scrolling feed. So we're trying to shift away from Facebook and into forums. This is why we're trying to encourage community to be built on the forum, because that way we can actually refer to knowledge and build on the shoulders of the previous programs and hopefully grow our community from here. Yalla, salam, big hugs. We'll put the selfie up too. Big hugs, thanks Peter.